The next morning, Barış woke up earlier than usual. The previous afternoon kept returning to his thoughts. He remembered Elçin's smile, the way she had spoken about the past, and especially the words she had said before they parted. One more time. It was only 3 words, but somehow they felt like the beginning of something. His phone vibrated. A message from Elçin appeared. "Good morning. I found the perfect place for our next meeting." Barış smiled. "Should I ask where?" "No. You have to trust me." He laughed. "All right. I'm trusting you." Her reply came quickly. "Tomorrow evening, 7 o'clock. Deal." The next day arrived sooner than expected. At exactly 7, Barış reached the location Elçin had chosen. It was a small, peaceful restaurant overlooking the city. The lights were soft, the atmosphere was calm, and there was a beautiful view from the terrace. When Elçin saw him arrive, she smiled. "You came. You invited me. I wasn't sure if you would remember." "I remember important things." She smiled. "Then tonight should be interesting." They sat at a table near the terrace. For a while, they simply enjoyed the atmosphere. The conversation started with familiar subjects, but gradually became more personal. Elçin looked at him. "Do you ever think about how different life could have been?" Barış nodded. "Sometimes." "What do you imagine?" He looked toward the city. "I imagine that every choice creates another path. And if we had chosen differently, then we wouldn't be sitting here." She smiled. "That's true." The waiter brought their dinner. They continued talking. They spoke about their younger years and the expectations they had carried at the time. Elçin admitted that she had once believed she needed to have everything figured out. "I thought life had to follow a plan," she said. Barış smiled. "Does it?" "Not anymore." "Good." She laughed. "Why?" "Because life is much more interesting when it surprises you." She looked at him. "Like this." "Exactly like this." They both smiled. After dinner, they stepped onto the terrace. The city stretched before them, filled with thousands of lights. Elçin leaned against the railing. "I used to think that second chances were about fixing mistakes." Barış stood beside her. "And now?" "Now I think they're about understanding things differently." He nodded. "That's a better way to see them." She looked at him. "Do you think we're getting another chance?" Barış didn't answer immediately. Then he smiled. "I think we're already using it." Elçin's expression softened. Neither needed to say more. They remained on the terrace for a while, watching the city. The silence between them was comfortable. Eventually, Elçin said, "I brought something." Barış looked at her. "What?" She reached into her bag and pulled out a small envelope. He smiled. "What's that?" "Open it." He carefully opened the envelope. Inside was an old photograph. Barış immediately recognized it. It was from years ago. They were younger, standing among friends, smiling at the camera. He laughed. "You kept this." "So did you, apparently." He looked at her. "How did you know?" "You told me." He smiled. "I forgot." "I didn't." For a moment, the photograph became the center of their conversation. They remembered that day. They remembered the people who had been there. They remembered the little details that had seemed unimportant at the time. Elçin smiled. "Look at us." Barış laughed. "We had no idea how much our lives would change." "None at all." She took the photograph back. "Do you regret anything?" Barış thought carefully. "I regret some choices." She waited. "But I don't regret the lessons." Elçin nodded. "Me neither." They returned inside. The evening continued. They talked about the future more than the past. Places they wanted to visit. New experiences they wanted to have. Simple things they had postponed because life always seemed too busy. Elçin said, "Maybe we should stop waiting for the perfect time." Barış smiled. "There probably isn't one." Exactly. So, what do? We choose a day. That sounds easy. It should be. They laughed. By the time they left the restaurant, the streets were quiet. They walked slowly toward their cars. Elsin looked at Baris. Today was better than I expected. Why? Because I thought we would spend the whole evening remembering. And we didn't? We remembered, but we also talked about what's next. Baris nodded. That's what made it different. She smiled. Do you feel like something has changed? He looked at her. Yes. What? I think we're no longer wondering whether we should reconnect. She waited. We're just doing it. Her smile became brighter. I think you're right. They reached their cars. Before getting inside, Elsin turned toward him. Baris? Yes. Thank you for giving this another chance. He smiled. I think we both did. She nodded. Good night. Good night. She got into her car. Baris watched as she drove away. His phone vibrated a few minutes later. A message appeared. Don't forget. We still have a day to plan. He smiled. Already thinking ahead? Someone has to. He replied. Then let's make it memorable. Her answer came almost immediately. Together. Baris looked at the message for a moment. Together. It was a simple word. Yet it carried a feeling neither of them had expected. The next morning, they began planning their next outing. Nothing extravagant. Just a day away from the noise of their busy lives. They chose a quiet place outside the city, somewhere they could walk, talk, and enjoy the afternoon. As the plan came together, they both realized something. Their second chance wasn't about recreating what they once had. It was about discovering what they could have now. The past had given them memories. Time had given them perspective. And the present was giving them another opportunity. For the first time, neither of them felt the need to ask where this journey would end. They were more interested in seeing where it would go next. And perhaps that was the greatest gift of all. Sometimes one more chance is not about returning to the beginning. Sometimes it is about finally being ready for the next chapter. The evening was unusually quiet when Baris Arduç finished his work and stepped outside. The city was glowing beneath the evening lights, but his mind was somewhere else. He had spent the entire day surrounded by people, conversations, and responsibilities, yet he felt as though something was missing. He walked toward his car and checked his phone. There was a message. From Elçin Sangu. For a moment, he simply stared at her name. It had been a while since they had spoken properly. Life had taken them in different directions, and although they had never completely forgotten each other, their conversations had become less frequent. Baris opened the message. Are you free tomorrow? He smiled slightly. He typed. I think I can make time. Why? The reply arrived a few minutes later. I'd like to see you. Those words stayed in his mind. He wondered why she wanted to meet. Was it about work? Was it simply friendship? Or was there something else she wanted to say? He decided not to overthink it. Of course. Tell me where. The next afternoon, Baris arrived at a quiet cafe in the city. He chose a table near the window and waited. A few minutes later, Elçin walked through the door. The moment she saw him, she smiled. Baris stood. Hi. Hi. They greeted each other warmly. For a few seconds, they simply looked at one another. So much time had passed, yet the familiarity was still there. Elçin sat down. How have you been? Busy mostly. You? Busy too. She smiled. Maybe that's why it took us so long to sit down like this. Baris nodded. Maybe. They ordered coffee. At first, they talked about ordinary things. Work. Travel. Recent projects. The people they had met. The places they had visited. But both knew there was something deeper behind the meeting. Eventually, Elçin became quiet. Baris noticed. You wanted to tell me something? She looked at him. Yes. She paused. I've been thinking about the past. Baris listened carefully. About us. She smiled softly. About the time when everything felt simple. He nodded. I remember. Do you ever miss it? Sometimes. She looked down at her coffee. Me too. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Bari said, but we can't go back. I know. Elçin looked up. That's not what I want. He waited. I don't want to repeat the past, she continued. I just wonder whether we could have another chance to do things differently. Baris looked at her. Another chance? Not to become who we were. She smiled. To become something new. Her words surprised him. But they also felt right. Baris leaned back. I've wondered about that too. Elçin smiled. Really? Yes. Why didn't you say anything? Maybe I wasn't sure you felt the same. She laughed softly. And I thought you didn't want to talk about it. They looked at each other. Then they both laughed. It was almost funny. Years had passed because neither had been certain what the other person was thinking. And now, sitting across from each other, they were finally saying the things they had once left unsaid. The conversation became easier. They remembered the moments that had made them laugh. They talked about difficult days they had survived. They remembered small conversations that had seemed unimportant at the time, but had somehow stayed in their memories. Elçin smiled. Do you remember when we used to stay after everyone else had left? Baris laughed. Of course. We would talk for hours. And complain about being tired. You complained more than I did. That's not true. It absolutely is. They laughed again. The warmth between them was returning. But this time, it felt more mature. They were no longer the same people they had been years ago. They had learned. They had changed. They understood what mattered to them now. Elçin looked toward the window. Maybe that's why I wanted to meet you. Why? Because I wanted to know if the connection was still there. Baris smiled. And? She looked back at him. It is. His smile grew. Good. They remained at the cafe for several hours. When they finally stepped outside, the sky had begun to change color. They walked slowly through the nearby streets. Neither wanted the afternoon to end. At a quiet corner, Elçin stopped. Do you remember what you told me once? What? That some people don't disappear from your life. They simply become part of a different chapter. Baris smiled. I remember.